Hi, this is another video relating to the buildings in King of Avalon, and this time we are going to look at the alliance buildings. If you're in an alliance, the leaders have the possibility to build several buildings that will benefit all the members of the alliance. And which buildings are unlocked depends on the level, the XP level of the alliance. In this alliance you're currently already at level 15, as you can see here, you're maxed. When you get to level 3, which can be done by donating in alliance stack, when you get to level 3, you have the possibility to build the alliance fortress. In the territory menu here, you can see which buildings are already built and where they are located. So we first are going to have a look at the fortress. So the fortress is the key building. It is the first building you need to build, and it marks the alliance area by the green lines that you see here. So that's kind of in a square around the fortress, and any cities within those square have certain benefits. So we see that here you have an increased wall defense damage to burning enemy cities, easier to remove them from your area. You have increased in resource gathering speed, resource production, and resource storage. Also, any other buildings need to be placed within the alliance area. So the fortress is very key. If it is ever destroyed, all other buildings will be automatically destroyed as well, because it basically destroys your alliance area. And that's something to keep in mind. If opponents attack it, it's not necessarily that common. That depends a bit on kingdoms. It's considered very aggressive to destroy the alliance fortress or alliance buildings in general. But it happens. But it takes a long time. Even if they have the attacking party has the maximum number of troops and has high-level troops, it can still take around maybe 12 to 16 hours before the fortress is completely destroyed. I've seen it often happen that people start destroying it, but in the end they don't continue with it. So unless you really have a huge amount of troops to attack them, you can also just decide to wait a bit if people start attacking the fortress, just to see whether they will stop after a while. It's also not the end of the world if the buildings get destroyed. It's very demotivating, but actually these buildings can be rebuilt quite fast. So I also wouldn't worry too much about it. But if you can prevent it from happening, if you can attack them, then by all means do it. The way to do that is set a rally on your own alliance fortress when it is being destroyed by others. So you can check how many troops are destroying it, and set one or more rallies. Make sure you have just take your time and make sure you have those people equipped, fully boosted, ready for combat, and you really have full rallies with good level of troops, good tier of troops, to before you set a rally on those on that fortress to kill those attackers. So going to the next type of building is the towers. Let's see if I can find one. Normally I would say place them in the corners. We haven't done that here. So a tower has as a function to increase the alliance area. So if you look at a tower, we have placed one here. That is just, it needs to be inside an existing area, either of another tower or of the fortress, in this case of the fortress, and then it draws another area. So here we have an extended area of our alliance from the tower. So cities within that area also have the benefits of the alliance area that we saw in the fortress. And you can also build alliance buildings in the area here. Alliance buildings built in such an area that is only covered by the tower will be destroyed when a tower is destroyed, because this whole area disappears at that time, the green marking. So this will no longer be considered. This area here will no longer be considered a when the tower is destroyed. This green marking will destroy it, and this area here will no longer be considered an alliance area. So there are no alliance buildings in this area at the moment, but if there were, they would be automatically destroyed as well if this tower is destroyed. So you have 4 towers in total. The fortress is unlocked at level 3 of the alliance levels, the towers at 5, 7, 9 and 11. I don't know everything from my mind, but it's all in the guide on our website as well. But yeah, so as your alliance grows larger, you can extend the alliance area via placing towers. Okay, the next type of buildings we are going to look at are the resource buildings. For each of the 4 resources, the alliance can build a resource building, and yeah, that has a lot of benefits actually. Mainly one of them is that the gathering rate of the resources in the alliance farm goes a lot faster than on normal tiles. But it's also the case that it contains a huge amount of resources. As you can see here, it's already on its way. It still contains 25 million in an iron mine. So in food and wood, that would be even a lot more. Many people can gather in it at the same time. You can really have very large marches in there, as large as your march capacity allows. Which means that actually these kind of alliance resource buildings can also be a good way of hiding your troops. If you don't want to use shields and you're not too worried about any resources that you have that might be stolen, you can put a full march in your alliance building, and they can actually stay there for a very long time. You can even use a bit of tricks. I sometimes, if I'm away for a long time, I use my dragon skills in such a way that my gathering, maybe I will just try to show you that. So I just focus on having my troops in such a tile for a long time purely as a basis of protection. I do that at times, not always. So if you look at the skills for gathering, and for example I focused on increasing my march capacity. I focused on increasing how much troops, how much resources my troops can carry, and I have the sawmill and the farm active, but not the iron active. So this I have already specified it that it's time to stay long in the alliance farm, because I have not increased my iron gathering rate, not increased general resource gathering rate, but I've made sure my troops can carry a lot, and I can send a huge amount of troops. And this will allow me to stay up to 12 hours with, if I have my talent points set correctly, maybe with up to 80 something thousand troops, so a very large part of my army, and they're basically safe during that period. The only way to get them out of there is to destroy the alliance fortress or alliance towers, and this in general also takes a very long time. So it's a way to keep your troops safe if you don't want to put up a shield. You cannot include all your troops, but quite some. So there is some alliance tech that also further increases the rate with which you can gather resources in the alliance resource buildings. So all they're quite useful. Often alliances let people vote which building they want next. If it is the resource building is depleted, it can also be destroyed, the resource building, and replaced with another one earlier if an alliance doesn't want to wait. Okay, so that's it about the resource buildings. Next, what I want to look at is there are 2 storage buildings. Actually, one is really storage, the other is the hospital. I want to look at the alliance storehouse. So here you have everybody has his own capacity at his alliance storehouse, where they can safely store some resources. So each day you can, and I suggest you should if you have enough resources. Like this, there is a daily limit here and there is a total limit here. Here we can see how much I have so far. So I've stored mainly iron in there, some silver. I feel that I have a lot of wood and food anyway, and it's more important for me to have a safe way of collecting these. So I'm going to do that now. I store. So storing, there is a daily limit each day how much you can store. For retrieving, there's no daily limit. So once you need what you have stored, you can retrieve it all at the same time. So this is quite useful to kind of slowly collect some resources. And at a certain moment when you need it, you pull everything from there. And as long as you have it in the storehouse, it's safe. So it's a way of collecting those safe resources, collect resources in a safe way. There's a line stack to increase the total capacity and to increase the daily limit. So now looking at the other building in the storage category, which is the hospital. So if your troops die, and first they go to if they are wounded, first they go to your own hospitals. If that capacity is maxed out, they will go to the Alliance Hospital. In the Alliance Hospital also each player has its own capacity for wounded troops, just like in the storehouse. So it's not a combined capacity, it's for each player a capacity. Healing your troops from the Alliance Hospital costs Alliance honor, so that you get from doing your donations. So often you can't really predict when your troops will end up in hospital, and if they do, you might want to get them out quite fast. So it could be good to stock up on quite some Alliance honor points, so that if necessary, you can use those to get your troops out of the Alliance hospital. If you leave an Alliance, or if an Alliance hospital is destroyed by destroying the towers or fortress that are managing that Alliance area where the hospital is stored, all troops in the hospital will be killed. So that's something to keep in mind. In general, it's not a good idea to keep your troops there too long. Getting back to the resource building, if you leave an Alliance, or if a resource building is destroyed, you will still get the resources. They will be brought back to you. Even if you don't have a march anymore, your march slots are already in use, you still have an extra march that will get the resources from the building when you leave an Alliance, for example. And there's also various Alliance tech that increases the hospital capacity, increases the hospital resource cost to heal your troops, and increases the hospital healing speed. Okay, we are going to the next building, which is the Alliance portal. The Alliance portal I will be on very short. We actually have a separate guide and video showing the Alliance portal. So I suggest you look there. That will handle it in more detail. It describes the portal event, and the Alliance portal is all about the portal event. What remains is the dragon altar. This is a very powerful building for various areas: attack, defense, and development. I will not go into all spells. I plan to make a separate guide to describe those in a separate video as well, to describe those in more detail. For now, I will just mention that there is one spell that is very useful if your Alliance is attacked by one or more big bullies. You can use this Alliance shielding that provides everybody with a 4-hour peace shield. It's very powerful. There are a lot of other spells as well, just explore them. They can only be used by our 4 and leaders. But it's still interesting to find out what they do. I will write another guide about it later, as I said. So anybody can help to create the spell points. Here you see the spell points bar necessary to cast these spells. You do this by using the elixir files. To do that, the elixir limit needs to be below 98, and for every offering that you can make at a time, or that you will make at a time, every offering of 1 elixir file will increase the elixir limit and the spell points with 2 points. So now this, the elixir limit will slowly decrease. Normally, if your alliance plays the portal event regularly, the members participating in that will get elixir files, and normally you as an alliance have plenty of elixir files to charge the spell points. The issue is more the timing. The elixir limit just goes down very slowly. So it's just a matter of time. Each spells also have their cooldown period, so it's a combination. When you use a spell, maybe the cooldown period can be 3.5 days. And you need to rebuild your spell points, so you need to be quite picky with when to use a spell. There's a Dragon Magic Alliance stack that allows you to unlock the further 3 levels of the Alliance stack. So initially you only have level 0, level 1, 2 and 3 are unlocked by the Dragon Magic Alliance stack, which is currently it's already maxed in this alliance. There's also some general, this was it for the specific buildings. There's also some alliance tech in general for the buildings to increase the building speed, alliance building construction speed, I should say, to decrease the speed with which enemies destroy your alliance buildings. These are in theory nice, but in practice it just takes quite long to do research in alliance tech, and you have to be picky what you research. So I wouldn't focus on these first, because they are just used in rare situations, and it's okay to, for example, wait a bit longer to build an alliance building. I find it better to focus my alliance tech research on other stuff. One last remark relating to alliance buildings is where to place them. I'm personally in favor to have the alliance fortress, the central area that is marked by the alliance fortress, to also have the alliance buildings in that area. That makes it harder for them to destroy and easier to access for all members. I mean, quite of these buildings, like the resource buildings and mainly the resource buildings and the storehouse, need to be accessed by members, and it's nice to have those in a central area as well. So if you think about a hive setup, I would have that fortress in the center and have towers at every corner of the alliance area marked by the fortress, and have all the alliance buildings in the center and fill it up further with players, and have the rest of the players in the areas marked by the towers. So that's it for the alliance buildings. I hope this has answered any questions you might have, given some explanation. If you have more questions relating to this, or you have other tips to share, please feel free to do so in the comment section. Thanks for watching this video, guys.